Bethesda didn't invent post-apocalyptic RPGs. They inherited them from a group of developers in the 90s who apparently decided that players were tough enough to handle true consequences, permanent death, and games that didn't explain themselves or even care about you. They were right, by the way. Then Fallout 4 came out with a dialogue wheel that had 4 options, all of which meant yes, and somehow that became the standard. Before that happened, 7 games were doing it better. A quick note on how I picked these. All 7 games are from the 90s and early 2000s, the golden era of the genre. Before it went mainstream and got sanded down, none of them are Fallout 1 or 2, because if you're watching this channel, you've either already played them or you know you should. These are the games that existed in the same space as Fallout, breathed the same air, and somehow never got the same recognition. Some of them you might know, but I genuinely doubt anyone knows every single entry on this list. For each game, I'll say who it's perfect for, because not every game fits every kind of player, nor does it scratch the same itch. Let's get started. Game 7. I Have No Mouth, and I Must Scream. 1995. Play this if you want the darkest, most disturbing post-apocalyptic story ever put in a game. The title alone should tell you this isn't going to be a comfortable experience. Based on a 1967 short story by Harlan Ellison, who also voiced the villain and co-wrote the game, I Have No Mouth, and I Must Scream, is set after an AI called Am has wiped out all of humanity. All of humanity except 5 people, who Am has kept alive for the past 109 years specifically to torture, and not metaphorically. He literally tortures them. Am is omnipotent, immortal, and motivated entirely by hatred for the humans who created it. You play each of the 5 survivors in turn. A paranoid soldier, a manipulative con man, a deeply traumatized woman, a man consumed by guilt, and an obese man who has been physically transformed by Am as a punishment. Each character's scenario is built around their specific psychological damage. The soldier's scenario forces you to confront what he did during the war. The conman's scenario is set in a Nazi death camp. You make decisions through ethical dilemmas that deal with issues such as insanity, sexual violence, paranoia, and genocide. None of this is handled exploitatively. It's handled with a kind of seriousness that most games don't attempt and couldn't pull off if they tried. What connects it to Fallout is the question underneath it. What does humanity do when everything collapses? Am is the ultimate post-apocalyptic villain. Not a faction, not a raider gang, but the logical endpoint of unchecked technological power. Harlan Ellison's performance as Am is one of the most chilling villain portrayals in gaming history. The Cell, the most psychologically sophisticated post-apocalyptic story in gaming. Nothing else on this list goes as far into what the genre is actually capable of. The Catch, disturbing content handled seriously and a point-and-click format that requires patience. But if you can handle it, it's unforgettable. Game 6. Jagged Alliance 2, 1999. Play this if you want post-apocalyptic tactical RPG with more personality than anything Bethesda has ever shipped. Set in the fictional nation of Arulco, a small country enslaved by a dictator named Daydrana, you're hired to liberate it. What the game actually is a tactical RPG with one of the most characterful mercenary rosters ever assembled. You hire them from a catalog called AIM, and each one has a distinct personality and opinions about the others. Some hate each other and refuse to work together. Shadow, the stealthy veteran who barely speaks. Ivan, the Russian soldier who drinks too much. These characters have more personality in their idle dialogue than most RPG companions have in their entire questlines. The post-apocalyptic connection is societal collapse. Arulco, under Daydrana, is a country where the rule of law has been replaced by fear and the civilian population is living in genuine desperation. When you liberate a town, the civilians actually react. They remember what Daydrana's forces did. Some of them want revenge, others just want to go back to farming. The world has texture that most post-apocalyptic games from this era couldn't manage. The tactical combat is deep, grid-based, and unforgiving in the way Fallout fans who grew up with the original isometric games will recognize. Flanking matters, cover matters, managing your mercenaries' health, morale, and equipment between missions matters. The Cell, the mercenary roster alone, is worth the price of entry. The tactical depth is genuine and the world feels real. The catch: the interface is dated and the learning curve is steep. But once it clicks, it's one of the most rewarding tactical RPGs ever made. Game 5. Arcanum of Steamworks and Magick Obscura, 2001. Play this if you want the deepest character building of the era made by the people who invented Fallout. Arcanum was made by Troika Games, founded by 3 of the original Fallout developers, Tim Kaine, Leonard Boyarsky, and Jason Anderson. Set in a Victorian steampunk world where magic and technology are in direct mechanical conflict, a mage who picks up a gun finds it doesn't work properly, a tech character disrupts magical fields, your choice of path shapes everything about how you experience the world. The character building rewards multiple playthroughs without repeating yourself. Your race, background, and skills change what dialogue options are available, how NPCs treat you, and what solutions exist to the game's problems. The city of Tarrant has its own newspaper that publishes headlines based on how you've been solving quests. In 2001, Bethesda still hasn't done that. The Cell, made by Fallout's original creators, with deeper character building than anything Bethesda has shipped since. The catch: the combat is genuinely bad in both real-time and turn-based modes, except that Arcanum is primarily a role-playing game rather than a combat game, and it's extraordinary. Game 4. Wasteland, 1988. Yes, I know it's technically not from the 90s, but you know what? I decided to include it anyway, because I think it deserves a shout. Play this if you want the game that started it all. Wasteland came out 9 years before Fallout, developed by Interplay, the same studio that would later make the original Fallout games. The DNA is direct and undeniable. The Desert Rangers in Fallout's lore are the Desert Rangers from Wasteland. The special system is a direct evolution of Wasteland's skill system. The team that made Fallout 1 and 2 had all played it. Set in post-nuclear Arizona and Nevada, you control a squad of desert rangers through a world where your actions have persistent consequences. Locations you've cleared stay cleared, NPCs remember you, choices made early affect options available later. For 1988, this was extraordinary. Playing it today requires adjustment. The interface is archaic and the game is deliberately obtuse, but the remastered version on GOG makes it significantly more accessible, and the experience of playing the grandfather of your favorite genre has a value nothing else can replicate. The Cell, this is where everything started. Fallout exists because Wasteland existed first. The catch: it's a 1988 game and it plays like one. Approach it as a historical artifact as much as a game. Game 3. Deus Ex, 2000. Play this if you want a conspiracy thriller with first-person RPG mechanics that Bethesda still hasn't matched. Set in 2052, in a world where a plague called the Grey Death is killing the poor while the elite take a cure called ambrosia, you play JC Denton, a nano-augmented agent with a deadpan delivery and a tendency to make speeches at people trying to shoot him. Your augmentations determine how you approach problems. Stealth, combat, and hacking builds play completely differently. Missions have multiple solutions. Some doors can be blown up, hacked, picked, or bypassed entirely through the ventilation shaft. Fallout asks what humanity does after civilization collapses. Deus Ex asks what happens just before, when the institutions are still standing, but the rot has gone all the way through. And crucially, the game lets you decide what you think about it. There's no obvious right answer about which faction deserves to win, because every faction has done terrible things in pursuit of goals that aren't entirely unreasonable. That moral ambiguity is New Vegas-level writing. 5 years before New Vegas existed, The Cell, one of the finest first-person RPGs ever made. The augmentation system and multiple solution mission design still hold up extraordinarily well. The catch: dated AI and graphics and voice acting so legendarily bad, it has its own reputation. JC Denton sounds like he's reading lines for the first time at every moment in the game. Many people find this charming. You'll know within the first hour which camp you're in. Game 2. Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl, 2007. Play this if you want post-apocalyptic survival that makes Fallout feel like a guided tour. Stalker has appeared in previous videos on this channel, but Shadow of Chernobyl specifically The original, not the sequels, belongs on this list because it's the purest expression of the 90s and 2000s design philosophy. This whole list is built around. The Chernobyl exclusion zone is the most convincing post-apocalyptic environment in gaming. Not the most visually impressive, the most convincing. It feels like a place that exists. What Shadow of Chernobyl does, and something that later Stalker games don't do as cleanly, is maintain ambiguity. The factions are morally complicated, the endings are genuinely unsettling, and the game's willingness to let you walk in completely unprepared and get destroyed for it is the design philosophy of its era at its purest. The Cell, the most atmospheric post-apocalyptic game ever made. If you've only played Stalker 2, the original has things the sequel doesn't. The catch: rough AI, rough gunplay, rough technical stability. Play it modded, but play it. Game 1. Fallout Tactics: Brotherhood of Steel, 2001. Play this if you want more Fallout and you've already played everything else. Fallout Tactics is the forgotten child of the Fallout family. Made by Micro Forte between Fallout 2 and Fallout 3, it was received with mixed feelings and has been largely ignored ever since. Most Fallout fans know it exists, almost none have played it. It's a tactical squad game set in the post-nuclear Midwest, where a Brotherhood of Steel chapter fights a super mutant army led by the Calculator, a rogue AI controlling an army of robots and mutants. The special system is intact, the Fallout atmosphere is present, and the tactics are deep enough to reward careful planning and punish overconfidence. What it does differently from the mainline games is its portrait of the Brotherhood. In Fallout 3 and 4, they're broadly heroic. In Tactics, you're doing their dirty work in a region they're conquering, not liberating. There's a specific mission midway through the game where the Brotherhood's methods cross a line. The game doesn't excuse or explain away. It just shows you and moves on. That kind of quiet moral honesty is rarer than it should be, and for longtime Fallout fans, it adds genuine depth to a faction you thought you understood. The Cell, more Fallout, in a part of the Wasteland you've never seen, with tactical combat better than its reputation suggests. The catch: it's not a traditional RPG. If you're here for exploration and dialogue rather than strategy, Fallout Tactics will feel limited. So those are 7 post-apocalyptic games from the 90s and early 2000s that built everything you love about the genre and then got left behind when it went mainstream. I have no mouth for the darkest post-apocalyptic story ever told. Jagged Alliance 2 for tactical depth with more personality than any Bethesda companion. Arcanum for what the original Fallout developers built when nobody was watching. Wasteland for the game that invented Fallout before Fallout existed. Deus Ex for the first-person RPG Bethesda has been trying and failing to match for 20 years. Stalker for the atmosphere that makes every other post-apocalyptic world feel like a set. And Fallout Tactics for the Fallout game you never played. Which of these have you actually played? Let me know in the comments. And if there's a game from this era I missed, and I'm sure there is, drop it below. Until next time.